In today's confidence vote in the House of Commons, the NDP is expected to support the Liberals' $87 billion spending bill. Now, this follows the Prime Minister's announcement that CERB payments will be extended until the end of the summer. For more, we're joined by Vicky Machama. She's a Culture and Society editor at The Conversation. Welcome to your morning.
Good morning.
Extending the CERB was a demand from the NDP in exchange for their support for the Liberals' spending bill today. If the Liberals can't pass this bill, what could happen?
The danger is that when the government doesn't pass a spending bill, which is effectively a test of the House's confidence, is that it triggers a process that leads us to an election. It doesn't necessarily end an election, but that's the danger. And so they have to be fairly confident that this is going to pass in order to put forward a bill like this in front of the House of Commons so that we don't necessarily end up in an election during a pandemic. But, you know, politics being what it is, it could end up that way.
I want to remind people of a figure that was recently released. The Parliamentary Budget Officer said if CERB is extended until the end of January 2021, it will cost nearly $60 billion on top of what's already been spent. We know this money comes from Canadian taxpayers, but talk more about the cost and the weight of that for us.
Yeah, so the Parliamentary Budget Officer did an analysis, and he says in one scenario that the upward cost could be up to $60 billion. Right now, CERB has spent, I believe, about $43 billion and is expected to spend, more as the pandemic goes on. However, that's going to change as the seasons evolve, as people go back to school, as people go back to work, as provinces shift and adjust what they are doing in their economies. So that's one estimate, but I think what's always good to remember is that it's some way, whether it was on the health side or on supporting economies adapting, we were always going to spend this money. As for taxpayers, that money comes from, the taxes that we pay. And so there's conversations about whether or not we're going to be looking at, austerity and a lot of spending cuts when it comes to federal spending, or if we're looking at at a wealth tax or an increasingly a more progressive wealth tax that will claw back some of that money from people who maybe have that money or maybe from the rest of us. And so we're going to pay for it in any case. The question is how much.
Vicky, we have about 30 seconds or so before we have to go, but I did want to ask you, with more businesses reopening, why was there pressure on Trudeau to extend CERB?
The businesses are reopening, but they're not going to be able to come back at the scale that they used to have. For example, look at the tourist industry, which employs, several million Canadians. They're not going to return at that scale because there isn't going to be travel at the scale that there would normally be during this summer. And so the CERB allows them to pay for allows for employees who would be in that industry to, be able to sit somewhere safely with income coming in until things return to normal, and we don't know when that is.
Vicky Machama, I want to thank you for joining us here on Your Morning Today. We'll be watching the vote later this morning. Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.